Oh, it's like a rose bob. So, uh, just to ground you in the story, guys, Jean Grey is teenage Jean Grey. So this is prior to the events of Dark Phoenix Saga, of like all of the iterations of Jean in the future, all the stuff in the Battle of the Atom, all of that kind of stuff. Oh, thanks so much, Jeff. Oh my gosh, it's like infinity roses. It's wonderful. Uh, oh my gosh, I do, yes. Underneath this suit, they're still there. I actually have a funny story about abs. So where was I? I was going through the airport, and like airport security being what it is. I remember they were like doing like a body check, and the girl was like, she was like touching my stomach, and being like, she's like, "What is this?" I'm like, "Those are my abs." It's not anything to be concerned about. Oh, wow, I didn't think that was possible. Okay, so I'm gonna also ground you guys in I got distracted. Thank you, my beautiful chat, for that. We have a bunch of orcs here talking about how they want to come after Thor. They want Thor's head for whatever reason, one thing or another. But Jean Grey stumbles upon this as she's trying to find Thor herself, because she wants to learn how to become a warrior so she can slay the Phoenix when the Phoenix comes for her. She got that idea from Namor, who said that, like, maybe the one thing you can do is try to at least fight it, right? So we'll see how that turns out very soon. So these guys are yelling out, "Today we take Thor's head." Oh, Jeff, and thank you for all of those roses, Jeff. That was like legit amazing. I felt that on like an etheric level, I feel like. All right, so today we take Thor's head. Thor's head. Thor's head. Thor's head. Not good, not good, not good. So she's running away. And then the Avengers. Oh, yeah. So it cuts now to. So, was there. Oh, yes. Jeff. So now we cut to Thor is telling a story. So he's talking about like the heyday with the Avengers. You can see here, like old war stories. He's like, back in my day was the Avengers. So here, I'm gonna try to do my Thor voice. The Avengers were mighty, yes, but also green. Green as the flesh of the cursed toads that plagued us that day. Loki had us all but beaten. Every advantage clutched at his trickster fist, and he plainly knew it. Loki! But I know as my brother as I know my own self. I can smell it when his confidence curdles to arrogance. Holy God, thank crap you're here! His defenses drop. His blind spots hidden, and in that moment, so you can see, like, I love this kind of panel here. You've got like old Thor in his like heyday with the Avengers, right, which we all know about, right? Avengers Assemble. Do I have a most prized comic, Hunter? Do you have a? As it comes to Marvel, since I'm Marvel girl / Jean Grey right now, I'm going to keep that to Marvel because that's a hard question to answer. It's like when you ask me like who my favorite characters are, it's hard and it always changes, I feel like, depending on the time we're in and who I am at the moment. So at this moment, the Civil War storyline comic book was my favorite one growing up when I was a teenager. So I have a lot of love for the old like Avengers as well as like Captain America and, as I said, Civil War, where you had this whole idea of like standing in your truth. And so I like that whole idea resonates with me in like characters, not just in comics, but like generally speaking. But we have Thor here, and he's basically recounting this like tale, and we flash now back to him in like present day, and of course like Jean Grey, teenage Jean Grey, is seeking out Thor because she wants to be a warrior, right? got to do training. You guys have like that training montage. I feel like that's what's missing from movies these days. You know, you need to have a good training montage. Even Flashdance had a training montage where they were at like the gym working out and stuff. You know, Rocky and running up the stairs, push-ups, all this stuff. You need to like the prep work. It can be to music, that kind of stuff. All right, so she comes through the doors, like opens through the doors, like very through the snow. I can just imagine what kind of place this is. And like, I mean, I was told you were here. I totally came here to see you, but it occurred to me on my way up that like maybe you'd be out for lunch or something, which would have been annoying under any circumstances, since my eyeballs totally froze climbing up here to see you. But considering what I just saw, it would have meant me fighting an army of the Lord of the Rings extras by myself for no good reason. Sorry, I'm a little amped. It's possible I over-caffeinated this morning. I'm Jean Grey. You're Thor. And I'm pretty sure there's a bunch of what I'm gonna call orcs on their way up to murder you. And then in response, Thor just belches. He just gives a big burp because he's been drinking lots of ale, you know, I guess in his retirement of no longer being an Avenger. Thank you, Hunter. Appreciate that. Then we've got, ew. Ha, 1,000 pardons, little mutant. Oh my gosh, you're drunk. Oh my, yes. Well, snap the hell out of it. Didn't you hear what I just said? Gimme that. Hey now. Okay, coffee, please, coffee. Where do you keep the coffee? Right here, love. Good deal. Keep it coming, please. So this Jean Grey loves coffee a lot, I guess because you're underage and you don't drink. I don't know if adult Jean drinks either, though. I watched a movie once. What was it? It had Bradley Cooper in it, and it had to do with mentalism and magicians. But in it, he had to like stay away from alcohol because I think like the alcohol like numbed the connection that he had to like any of like psychic or magic abilities he had. So I think there's something there with like alcohol, because alcohol is a depressant, right? So maybe there's something there. I'm not quite sure. Oh yes, for proper character. I have a whole, each of my characters that I play that I find resonance with. So I'm cosplaying as Jean Grey. I find resonance with her because a lot of her powers come from empathy, the subconscious. And if you go into like what I believe comes from telepathy or telekinesis, it all kind of comes from that dream world, that other like hard to describe world, the part that exists in the imagination. And so this is kind of like an expression of that too, in terms of sharing stories that have one meaning on top of it, right? Which I'm telling you right now, but within it there are like deeper meanings encoded. So yeah, that's, and so like when I put this suit on, it's kind of like, there you go. Oh gosh, yay, yeah, you got it. Yes, and we're continuing on the read from earlier. I'm a little late, but I mean, it is Saturday night. I don't usually do reads at this time. I'm usually doing other things, but we've got a full moon coming up, right? And an eclipse. So there's a lot of stuff time space wise that's crazy. So I think it's a matter of, you know, riding with it. And then like I was like, I need to finish this read for you guys because I do think it is an important one to get out there. And I don't think a lot of people know this story about Jean Grey, where her teenage self essentially tries to like not like, you know, like you refuse a destiny, right? Where it's like, I don't want to be that Jean Grey who becomes the Phoenix and like destroys a world. I don't want that. I don't want to be that, right? So it's kind of like an understanding of when you like learn to accept your own shadow self and like parts of yourself. Like I think that's why sometimes we like villains, because we can kind of see where they're coming from when it comes to things, right? Because yeah, I am a couple hours late. I'm totally. Okay, let's keep going, guys. So she found better late than never. Okay, okay. Making sure that I didn't skip a page, just because sometimes with these gloves I can and I don't want to. No, I didn't. So she got the coffee. And then now she's realizing Thor is drunk, but I don't think that makes him any less effective as a fighter. But here we go. All right, sober up the best you can, I guess. I have to assume drunk Thor is way better than no Thor. But I also don't see your hammer anywhere, so if you left it by the toilet or whatever, now would be a good time to run and fetch that. Sore subject. Oh, yes. And then Thor says, Oh, right. You're Odinson now, right? Thor's a lady. I am more than well enough armed. Thank you very much. Well, okay. You say you've journeyed here to speak with me, Jean Grey. Yeah, I seem to have really bad luck with that. Might as well tattoo cruisin' for a bruisin' across my throat. What is that you seek? Long story short, I have this big, crazy battle coming. Not just the orcs, something worse. Anyway, it seems like the only way I stand a chance of surviving it is if I level the way hell up. So she's trying to level up her warrior skills in order to deal with something even more than the orcs. Of course, she's talking about the Phoenix, which is a cosmic sentient god of fire, right? Which merges with Jean Grey, but we'll see that the Phoenix and Jean Grey are intrinsically linked. This might sound dumb, but I thought maybe you could teach me how to be a warrior. Well, good luck to you. Travel safe, Lana. That cold wind chops like an axe. I don't know. Whatever. Doesn't matter. I'm probably screwed. No, you're not, Jean Grey. You're an Omega level mutant. You can handle more than what you think. And that's assuming we even survive the next 10 minutes. Your dilemma reminds me of a tale from my own misspent youth. I was still a boy then, just past my 15th name day. So this is Thor going off on another story because he's trying to relate to Miss Jean, asking about being a warrior and dealing with a challenge, right? My brother and I wanted so desperately to prove ourselves in battle, and yet no one would allow it. Were we not sons of Odin? Had we not been born and bred for the battlefields? It felt as though we would never be old enough, never be taken seriously. Oh, thanks for the tiny. Aw, David, appreciate that. Yay! So just to recap, if you just dropped into the live, I'm Jean Grey. I'm reading Jean Grey, and we are at the point in time where Jean is dealing with, she's kind of like trying to avoid her destiny here, teenage Jean Grey, right? So, I'm in Toronto right now, but I'm originally from the prairies of Winnipeg, Manitoba, and I love stories of comic books, and this is my way of bringing it to life and sharing them for you. Yeah. Okay. So, she is asking Thor about how to be a warrior, and Thor is telling a story about his youth when he was about 15 and Loki, and he's basically okay, here we go, keep going. I want to make it through the whole thing. So, were we not sons of Odin? Had we not been born and bred for the battlefield? It felt as though we would never be old enough, never be taken seriously. So we set out on our own, set out to prove ourselves. armed with smug grins and borrowed weapons from father's armory. No offense, but is there any way that we can do this story time a little bit later? We're about to kind of bury here, or we're about to be kind of busy here, because remember those orcs that Jean Grey was talking about on the way? Okay, so basically, let's keep it going. Let's see here. We're about to be kind of busy here. And then oh my gosh, I have to, this little crease over here. Let me go over on this side if I can and still read it. We had it in our fool heads that together we could tame the fabled Lavadon? What's a Lavadon? Well, you can kind of see it here. It's like this like fire monster. Because I do think finish Moon Knight, trying to finish Blade, and want to start Helverine, Ultimate Spider, Mini Magneto. Oh, I got this new Constantine comic book as well that I'm going to read as Satana coming up. Maybe tomorrow. We'll see. Because tomorrow's Sunday, right? All right. Those are... You know what? I need to get some Moon Knight, actually. Have you seen the show? There's a show, Moon Knight, right? Or a movie? Was it good? Did you like it? I feel like Moon Knight has a lot of symbology behind it. Because typically lunar... Oh, thanks for the... Oh my gosh, let me read your name. Tetri Sam? Thank you for the finger heart. Okay, good. Because I feel like I love myths, or rather, I love myths. Well, actually, I can just say that. I love mythology. And so I love, if you think of Moon Knight, it's kind of an interesting play on of lunar. Lunar aspects are typically feminine in nature. So when you have a masculine character embodying something that's typically feminine, you get something that's, it's a cool perspective, right? It's like no different than how like in Egyptian myth, you have the earth god being Geb and the sky goddess being Nut. So it's like a play on like those like masculine, feminine energies and like different aspects. So it's cool to see. So let's keep going here. We've got Thor, which is also like, you know, Thor is the son of Odin and Freya, right? In Norse mythology. And in this case, you have him talking about him and Loki basically coming, like, you know, like those stories of when you were younger. So when he was 15 with Loki, he went and fought this monster, which is known as a Lavador, I think. Yes? Lavadon. Apologies. There we go. Oh, okay, yes, absolutely, yes. My girlfriend that I had on the other day. Oh, yes. Oh, I like Venom as a character, actually. I do. I love those complex kind of ideas, and the fact that the symbiote and him have a connection, right? Okay, let me continue with the story. And yes, my friend Joanne, she will be on more. She actually is helping me edit my my comic book, because book 3 I actually have completely written out the ancient future time, which I'm converting into a graphic novel. So she's also a writer herself, and she's very well versed in comic book lore. And I've been getting to try to get everyone into cosplay. So let's. I encourage any of you to get into cosplay too, so that maybe I can have you as guests too, and we can have fun panels of squares of us all reading from maybe the same comic book, if we can all manage to get that going. I think that's possible. We can coordinate something, I think. Okay. We had in our fool heads that together we could tame the fabled Lavadon, squelch its fire by sheer force of will. Well, will is very powerful. And ride the proud beast back to father. As irrefutable proof, we were ready to join him in battle. The wink was for getting back to the story, right? Oh, yes. Guts cosplay. I saw one that was like a Guts Sailor Moon combo cosplay. I thought that was cool. Yes, have a good night. Oh, have a good night, David. Thank you. Appreciate the follow. See here. As irrefutable proof, we were ready to join him in battle. So, you know, it's like one of those things, like when you're like a kid and you're younger and you're like trying to prove yourself. And it's so funny, like when you get older, you're like, I miss those carefree days when I was 15. But like when you're 15, you're just like, I just want to grow up, right? So let's keep going here. Are you spamming my thing, user? Oh no. Okay. There we go. Thank you. Okay. Let's continue. So, can I for real take a rain check on the tales of yore? That Lavadon torched us from toes to nose. I'll never forget the taste of Loki's burning hair in the back of my throat. We sprinted from that cave, a pair of bellowing, blistered buffoons. That was a lesson well learned. Exactly how drunk are you right now? Please get over here and hit somebody. Because remember, these orcs that wanted to kill Thor have now come to this place where he's been drinking and telling this story to Jean. And she's like, can you please just come over here and like help me out? I know that you're trying to tell me, like, teach me a lesson by telling me this story, but like, WTF. And Thor's like, oh, what are you talking about? And he's like, oh, right. The orcs that are here to, like, come after me. And he says, verily, holy, my apologies. So Thor's, like, finally realizes what's going on. So he kicks into gear. So Jean's, you know, psychically battling. Meanwhile, Thor's got his axe, not Mjolnir, right? He's got like his a different axe. Apparently him not having the axe is a bit of a sore spot, so we won't revisit that just yet. But remember, he's not Thor, he's Odinson, because I think the mantle of Thor is being, I don't know if it's Lady Thor right now, it's Jane, but we'll see. I don't know if we'll get into that, really, but we'll see. I'm not even sure. I wanted to look up when this year, like, I know that this is like dealing with like different time space eras because it's X-Men, but I don't know exactly when this comic book was written. I will find out, just so we know like chronologically in terms of canon, like where we are as far as Jean Grey's relationships go and where Thor fits in, right? Okay. These aren't enough orcs in all the 10 realms to kill the Odinson. Yeah, but you were just so freaking drunk. Ha ha ha. All the mead in Valhalla would not. Okay, great. Maybe you pause your friggin' grandpa stories for 5 seconds to spell that all the way out. And then he takes a drink and kicks all these things. Can we, he says here, you came here searching for me. I assumed my reputation. Can we please talk later? You might be cool fighting a billion orcs, but I'm not super comfortable in being outnumbered. Ha ha ha. It seems like memory lane will trod dry today. Your hasty words call to mind another story. And Jean Grey's like, oh my gosh, are you serious right now? Can you please just get rid of these things? Are you kidding me? Right now? I would never. Long, long ago, I answered a call to cross the Rainbow Bridge. Thanks, Blood Wolves. I'm Jean Grey. I'm reading Jean Grey, right? An army of men begged I lead them against a rival tribe, a vicious bunch that threatened to steal their lands and livestock. Okay. Oh, he's telling another story, and this is while they're fighting. This is funny. This was the sort of thing I did often in my youth. Bloody battle and celebratory mead were my bread and butter. Besides, this was to be a quick affair. My men and I had the numbers. We were fighting on familiar ground, and I was newly worthy wielding the mighty Mjolnir. Oh, he's got his hammer, and he's like reminiscing, right? Old war stories, quite literally. What we did not realize until the battle began is that our rivals had a sort of god of their own. The frost giant froze my men out, then set about remaking the once familiar terrain in its own frosty image. Suddenly, severely outnumbered, my rival pummeled me like a tough out of meat. Oh, okay. I guess like, oh, thanks, Pikachu. Hey, how's it going? So I was just trying to reread that. I'm like, what do you mean? Outnumbered me and pummeled me. So Thor's talking about an old war story back when he still had Mjolnir. And he's saying in this interaction, there was some frosty god that pummeled him like a tough cut. There we go. A tough cut of meat. I battled that creature day and night with everything I had, with everything my hammer had, knowing even if I outlasted him in the end, I'd still have 1,000 cutthroats to contend with. Just when all seemed lost, I summoned the last of my strength. I hefted my hammer to the heavens for one final swing and called down Mjolnir's thunder. Ooh, it's like very much like He-Man when he holds up his sword and calls down the thunder, or Highlander and the quickening situation, So call down the thunder, and then, cool, I guess it's too bad I don't have a big friggin' magic hammer, now do I, right? Oh, thanks, Ethan. Thanks for the finger heart. Hey, hello, welcome to the read. We're doing part 2 of Jean Grey. So it's teenage Jean Grey and her adventures, and we're just in the middle of her and Thor, not Thor because he doesn't have his hammer, right? So Odin's son, quite literally, and he's recounting stories as they're dealing with these orcs. And Jean Grey, my younger self at least, is trying to learn how to be a warrior. So cool. I guess it's too bad I don't have a big friggin' magic hammer. Crunch. Thwack. Okay, what the hell was that? And then there's this orc thing coming together. But don't worry. I I am an Omega level psychic, so I'm just saying these can be easily dealt with enough focus. So Thor comes in to play with the save finally, after telling all these old war stories, jumping in saying, "Look to me like a big friggin' magic hammer." Right. And thanks for the save, Thor. Not Thor. My pleasure. So, warrioring. Lesson 1. 30 minutes later. This reminds me of another story. Just last week, I was drinking holiday down in Bergen when a little bird flew in. Told me a horde of orc assassins had been asking after me. As you've seen, I can always handle a few orcs. But they are a sloppy bunch who fight hard and dirty. Wait a minute. Are you telling our story right now? You knew about those orcs? So I made loud, drunken show of heading up the mountain for a high-altitude drink and lured my enemies to the highest ground where collateral damage would amount to a few broken bottles of mead. Oh, yeah. Well, I mean, it is Thor, right? And he probably does, like, you know, like the Berserker rage, where you maybe operate a lot better with a couple of mugs of mead in you, right? And you can see they're having, like, a drink. Well, Thor is having a drink, while, like, the rest of the orcs are now, like, all around them, defeated, right? And so all those stories, you were just trying to answer my question. Teaching is perhaps not my greatest skill, but I can spin a drunken yarn. Round the bend back again, and most of mine are true. Okay, well, right. Oh, thanks for the roses, Terry said. Oh, wow, yay, thank you. Aw, I appreciate that. It's like, oh, wow, it's like a rose, like War of the Roses situation. I wish I had the ability, maybe I can figure it out in a studio, you know, to basically kind of have it where, like, my, like, psychic powers activate when enough gifts are dream activation. Aw, thank you. Oh my gosh. Tetri Sani. Wow. I don't know if I've ever seen that many roses before. Okay, I'm gonna keep going. I'm gonna take that as a sign. Thank you for that. It's like if it was on stage and you're like throwing roses. So like, thank you. Oh, I have a plus. My husband makes fun of me. He's just like, is that a laptop? But I mean, like, come on now. Okay. He's basically saying he knew all about the orcs, and he was using that opportunity of, like, fighting at the same time to basically also tell a story and have a lesson in it. Because stories, you know, are a great way to divulge lessons, and in a fun kind of way. And so that's why, like, Jean Grey, being meta Jean Grey, is a way of also like double meaning telling the story. And wow, thanks again, Terry Sani, for all the roses. That's, love that. Thank you. Okay. So, know your enemy. Wait. Let's go back here. They've got all the bad orcs all around them, and he's basically saying, Thor is saying that he knew they were coming. He was just using it as an opportunity to tell her a story, right? So, surviving it means shuffling this way and that in an attempt to strike a balance between preparation, execution, and dumb luck. Know your enemy. Know yourself. Plan whatever you can and control as much as they'll let you, but never let those feet fall flat. Improvise or die. Oh, this is like warrior tips from Thor himself. I love that. I'm going to repeat that last one because I think it's worth it. Okay. Know your enemy. Know yourself. Plan whatever you can and control as much as they'll let you, but never let those feet fall flat. Improvise or die. Experience is, of course, the sturdiest armor. But, as you saw, there's nothing better in the world or the next than a big friggin' magic hammer. And then, so at this point, Jean tries to reach up and pull together that etheric hammer, or is that psychic hammer she was using in the fight against the orcs, to no avail, right? So she's just like, unfortunately, I don't have the slightest idea how I made that happen in the first place. It's almost like at the moment it was supposed to appear, right? Divine timing, let's say. And then Thor puts his hand on her shoulder and says, Yes, well, Asgard wasn't built in a day. And he clinks with her. He's like, you keep at it. Great advice, Thor. All right, so she's done getting some warrior advice from Thor. So now, oh yes, welcome back, Alexander. Welcome back. Welcome back. We're reading some Jean Grey as Jean Grey. And we are now, she's kind of, going back to a regular instead of plus. You know what? Having the larger phone can be problematic when it comes to certain things too. Oh yeah. Oh my gosh, one-handed texter. That's impressive. I can't do that. It's okay. Just let it let the story just seep into your subconscious. Then let's put it that way. Okay. I just my earphone. Oh, thank you. The Good Vibes Gamer. Hello, and thank you for that. The finger hearts. Okay, so we are now with Psylocke right now. So you guys know I love Psylocke. And everyone knows, like, Psylocke's super underrated. I'm going to do her justice because my last few cosplays of Psylocke were kind of like, you know, I put together other outfits. It wasn't a true Psylocke cosplay. So I will put that together. And so now Jean Grey is seeking out Psylocke because the whole premise of this comic book, this comic book is Jean Grey, and I'm reading this as like adult Jean Grey, but this is about teenage Jean Grey who has been sent into the present from the future, or rather the past. The new DC Absolute series. I'm not familiar with that, Alex. I only am familiar with the fact that they're doing some of the casting choices for the new Green Lanterns. But I'll talk about that tomorrow because I actually have a Zatanna / Green Lantern thing tomorrow. But today's Marvel, and we're talking about Jean and her relationship with the Phoenix, because this story with Jean has to do with her as a teenager attempting to how should I put this? Like, free herself of this destiny of being with the Phoenix. Because you guys know, like, the Dark Phoenix saga doesn't really end well, right? Like, Dark Phoenix, and I'm actually working on a Dark Phoenix cosplay, which I haven't quite completed yet. I will unveil it, but this is a great story to kind of bring that persona into life, because it's about being multifaceted, and in all of us, that whole darker side, the propensity to be able to do really dark things, but you have to be aware of that stuff, right? We can't necessarily hide from it. So that's kind of like what this story is about Jean, teenage Jean, being aware of the future and almost trying to take a different path. My sister has the same mic as you. Hey Shay. Yeah, this is a great mic. I call it my orb. The orb of, how you... let's continue. So I love this image too, right? Jean and Psylocke behind her, right? And then, so now, Mount Yoshino, Japan. So we're in Japan again. We actually started this comic book in Japan because Jean was trying to just like get away from things, and so they went for noodles in Kyoto. But now we're in Mount Yoshino. Thor told me, I love this. This is a great story because it's all from Jean's perspective. You don't get a lot of comic books from her perspective, right? She's usually, and we get to that later, and you'll see why I love this story so much. And the Good Vibes, thank you so much. And Shay, thanks for the follow. Okay, I'm so happy you guys are here. I love reading comics and sharing these stories. Okay, Thor told me a warrior's greatest weapon is a short memory. Then he got even drunker and wouldn't shut up about missing his hammer. There was singing at one point. Loud singing. Point taken, Odinson. Weapons matter. They sure do. and I'll need some damn good ones to defeat the Phoenix. So, here we are, meditating in a cherry blossom grove with the world's foremost psi weapon expert. So this is Jean Grey calling Psylocke the foremost psi weapon expert, and that I think means something as far as Psylocke goes as a character, and I don't think that's been explored enough in any of like the mainstream media stuff, right? Okay, can I get like a rough estimate of how long this is gonna take, Psylocke? And Psylocke beside her is saying, oh my gosh, Psy, you're meditating, you can't rush meditation. I've got that pins and needles thing starting in my legs. Besides that, I'm not feeling much of anything. The point of meditation is clarity of mind, Jean, to remove all distractions and enter a state of serenity. Athletes call it the zone. Psylocke. Impatience defeats the purpose. You need to relax. Let it happen. No timeline then? Okay, cool. And we continue. Oh, I like this version of Psylocke too. She's got like that, the classic, that purple color with like the ninja. Oh, I love it. The power you seek is within. Always. Well, that's a truth. Oh yeah. If you have any suggestions of things to read too, I'm down as well. I don't just read comic books. The power you seek is within, always. It just gets trapped underneath all the other rubbish bopping about. Let the rest drift away. Dig down, deep, and focus. Yeah, well, that sounds great if you're a purple ninja lady and serenity is your thing. But, I can't sleep without a TV on. Quiet doesn't turn my brain off. It turns it up. My mind's racing so hard right now, I'm grinding my teeth. And if I focus any harder on my eyes, they are going to explode. To hell with this. It is not working. Silence and solitude suck. Why do you think people cry in the shower? Okay, plan B then. Pickles? And then Pickles, the little demon, time traveler in the corner, is nomming on something and just is nom nom nom. I just started reading the last Ronin Ninja Turtles comic. Oh my gosh, that's a good one. That's a good one. That's one to read live. I have an April O'Neil cosplay. That would be a good one to read that one out. I feel like it's an epic one. It's one of those ones that you should own. So I don't, full disclosure, I don't actually own this comic. I actually came across this when I was trying to get a little, oh yes, I am still on. Oh, 1 second. Just gonna, I don't know if I have it handy. Okay, I don't have it handy. I had a comic book that was a bit more old school comic book that I own with Jean Grey as this Jean Grey, right? The original classic. It's not the full headpiece. I'm working on making that as well. So, the original classic Jean Grey teenage version is basically going back through time, and she's trying to forge a new destiny for herself, right? So here she's trying to she wants to fight back against the Phoenix, meaning she's trying to develop psychic weapons in order to do so. That's why she's dealing with Psylocke right now. But Psylocke is trying to do meditation with her. Jean Grey's, she's 16. Remember being 16 and trying to meditate? Not really easy, right? Club Shred, Philadelphia. So now she's gotten the little demon baby to no, I don't think so. No, I think Drake moved to Texas. I don't know. I'm not quite sure. That could be just a rumor. Okay, Club Shred, Philadelphia, Banff. What the what? That's Jerry Crow. The first 2 albums absolutely rip, but this new one, bit soft, frankly. Okay, but why are we here? I'm a psychic too, remember? You didn't seem to care for my cherry blossoms. Perhaps you're right. Perhaps silence is not your thing. So, let's do noisy. Aw, thank you. Perhaps you're right. Perhaps silence is not your thing, so let's do noisy. Try it here. Try digging deep. Find your weapon. Oh, thanks, absolutely. You know what? I might. And I did have, once upon a time when I was younger, I was obsessed with dyeing my hair red and like this color. So it's almost like I knew in the future I would want to be cosplaying as Jean Grey. It's like a, but there's also, I've noticed this, a lot of badass comic book chicks have red hair. Look at it, like Batgirl has red hair. Who else has, Poison Ivy has red hair. Who's, oh my gosh, the new Red Sonja has red hair, right? I heard the new movie coming out is actually going to be actually pretty decent, so we'll see. Mystique, oh yes. So Rogue's got that like silver streak though, so I feel like she's got that whole unique hair, and I feel like I love Rogue too, actually. Scarlet Witch, yeah, another amazing badass redhead. Yeah, there's a few others though, escaping me right now. But yeah, I always say you'll, even on my Dragon Warriors team, I've got a redhead on the team, Brittany. She actually lives on Vancouver Island, and because my own comic book is actually based on my my friends. So you'll get to see more of what that kind of looks like coming up. Because my big goal for myself is to like cosplay as me, as my own character, right? And so you always like stand on the shoulders of giants, of the ones who came before you, who created characters and stuff. I'm working on a comic book. It's still in process, you guys. It's called The Dragon Warriors Saga. It's about like, I'm not going to get into it right now. I'm going to save that for a future time. Maybe tomorrow, actually. We'll talk a little bit more about that and read from my actual comic book. It doesn't have it. I only have a script for it, right? I'm not a drawer. I'm not an illustrator. I need to find illustrators. I need to find all those other pieces of the puzzle. But I do have all of the aspects to it. So it's also going to be an RPG game, tabletop, that you can play that's based on astrology. So the meta way that our reality is kind of like mapped out so that we can have a little bit more fun with it, and then maybe, you know, it'd be cool. Da-da-da. Okay, let's keep going, friends. So Psylocke basically transported them away from the whole part, like, she was trying to meditate for her to develop like her own psychic weapons, right? So the whole peace and quiet thing wasn't working for her, so they transported into this like nightclub scene. Because you know what, I've actually had this experience as well back in the day, like when I used to go dance at Government here in Toronto, as well as a few other clubs here. So I was of that time when like there was more like costumes and personas put on stage and all of that kind of stuff, which is why I bring that to the table when my hubby DJs, right? So that whole, I'm telling a story through like the experience itself, like experientially. Where was I going with this? I'm just going to continue. Oh, it's just the fact that you can have like a whole like trippy experience, otherworldly experience in a nightclub too. A Government used to be a club. It's torn down now. It's now a parking lot. But back in the day, it used to be a nightclub. I date myself by saying that. So she's saying like they're now in a nightclub, and Psylocke says, try it here. Try digging deep. Find your weapon. How come people get so mad at me for mind reading without an invite when literally every adult psychic gets carte blanche? Bah, whatever. This totally is better. Maybe angry trash music will do the trick. Hey! So she's starting to glow here, and then... If you can't stand the heat, ow, stay out of the pit. Idiots, back off. So I guess she's in a mosh pit, and she throws everyone out, right? Out of the way. And then, hell yeah, get it, Red. Woo, rock, rock, rock. Yeah, sure. What do you think, Pickles? Plan C? Rock. Now what? Subterranean death caverns. Chook full of mindless, eradicated mole monsters. Dear God, why? Don't overthink it. You are insane. Oh my gosh. We are missing a few regulars because I'm not usually on a Saturday night, right? I'm usually on during the week, and I'm usually doing something else on Saturday nights. But I needed to get this story out to you guys. So let's put it that way. And I will have this on recording so that we have this encapsulated so that you can get the replays later, right? Because I think the story in this one is a goodie. So let's get to it. So Psylocke has now transported them to like the subterranean cavern, and Jean Grey's like, oh my gosh, why? I just need to finish this. Don't overthink it. You're insane. And you're an X-Man. Just do your thing. What thing? I don't have a thing for this. How else? Trial by fire. The basement of this building houses the largest hand resurrection chamber ever built. Somebody resurrects hands? Ninjas. Sort of. So think of hands. I think remember the foot and stuff like that. So different groups of ninjas that are bad guys, but these ones are zombie ninjas. So ninjas, sort of. Frankenstein zombie ninjas. They're mass producing them here. Lucky duck, you get to go in and stop it. You want me to jump down there and fight an army of ninjas? No, I want you to sneak in there, get a load of explosives, and then sneak back out. Ooh, stealth mission. Then I'll implode the building and bury their ungodly chamber under a ton of steel and concrete. Won't that kill? Undead ninjas are already dead, Jean. Point is, strictly black ops. You can't thrash about making a ruckus in there. No big loud brawls. No fight or flight. And every encounter swiftly. Use your weapons wisely. Dagger, not chainsaw. Okay, but how am I supposed to? You're an Omega level telepath with a mindscape roomy enough to contain a blazing godbird. Get out of your own way for once. Suss out whatever headspace you need, and you go there. Oh yeah, Psylocke. I love that in terms of the advice, right? Oh yes. And no more hand-holding. You know, Thor's pep talks are a lot nicer. Well, I'm British and sober. Okay, true. Okay, here's your first ninja sentry, your first test. Start small with this one, blunt objects. Just sneak up behind him and knock him upside the head. Or you could, use your powers properly. Pop into his zombie ninja mind and turn off all the lights. Would you? What was that? Nothing. Okay, Keep it simple. Manifest